Brandon Pfaadt and Gavin Stone made their MLB debuts on Wednesday and got shelled. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On MLB Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on in to Locked On MLB Prospects, your home for all things minor league baseball. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, freelance baseball writer and podcaster. Thank you for making this your first listen every single day. We're proudly part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And today's episode is made possible by our friends at Rocket Money. Stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB. So, the Arizona Diamondbacks call up Brandon Pfaadt. The Los Angeles Dodgers call up Gavin Stone. These two prospects debut on Wednesday. They're both pitching in day games. Sadly, not against each other. But it doesn't go very well. So, Brandon Pfaadt has the rougher outing. 2025th rounder out of Bellarmine. He is facing the Texas Rangers in the third game of a three-game set and gets absolutely blasted. 4 2/3 innings, 9 hits, 7 runs, all earned, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts on 87 pitches. 55 of those are strikes. Gives up 4 home runs, including 2 to rookie Josh Young. And so, what I want to look at here is what went wrong for Brandon Pfaadt. So if you go back to last year, okay, 29 games in the minors, divided amongst multiple levels, 3.83 ERA and 167 innings pitched. 218 strikeouts, 11.7 per 9, leads the minors. 33 walks, 1.8 per 9, 28 home runs allowed. And I think the secret to this here is the 28 home runs because of the pitch mix and how things work for Brandon Pfaadt. So going into the game, the scouting report on Brandon Pfaadt is fastball, slider, changeup, curveball. Fastball is a plus pitch, sits 94, 95, comes up to about 97 at its max. And it's one of those pitches where it's almost like it's a cutter. It's not a cutter, but it moves similar to how a cutter would work. And then it has carry up in the zone. So he combines that with a slider. It's a sweeper, sits in the low 80s, also a plus pitch, and then has a changeup that has some arm side runs, so it looks different from, it gives him an opposite profile from the fastball, from the sweeper, and then a curveball that's like a show me, get me over, early in a count, steal strike here and there. And in the game, you see that profile kind of work out. He throws 87 pitches. 54 of those pitches are fastball. So 62% fastball. Very fastball heavy for Brandon Pfaadt in that first start. And the wildest statistic to me is he throws 54 fastballs, but because the movement profile isn't exceptional, it has some cut, but it's not a cutter. It just has some natural cut to it. He gets 1 swing and miss. Now, the CSW rate, called strikes plus whiffs, ends up coming out to 28% because he gets 14 called strikes. And we saw last year, Brandon Pfaadt did a really good job of working the edges of the strike zone, kind of trying to live on the black. And the fastball, when he missed, unfortunately, he was missing middle of the plate. He gives up, of the 4 home runs, I believe 2 were on the fastball, and either 2 on the changeup or 1 on the changeup, 1 on the slider. But either way, all 4 home runs were middle. And there was another pitch to Marcus Semien that could have been launched, and Semien just barely missed it. But it was kind of the issue there with the fastball. 67% of them are in the zone, but when he missed middle. The issues that he had, so the slider, he throws 17 sliders, so about 20% of the time. He gets 4 swings and misses on those, CSW rate of 35%, because he gets 2 called strikes as well. So the slider's doing its job. It's kind of the put-away pitch. It's working. Throws it for a strike just about 60% of the time. The changeup throws 12 of them, 2 swings and misses, 17% CSW. Just not getting a lot of effectiveness off of the changeup. And the average exit velocity off of the changeup is 105.9 miles an hour. So, I mean, it's the average exit velocity for the Rangers against Brandon Pfaadt as a whole was 93.8 miles an hour. Brandon Pfaadt gives up 12 hard hit balls in this game. Every batter in the Rangers lineup facing Brandon Pfaadt has at least one hard hit ball in the game. He does, kind of like the scouting report says, he does throw 4 curveballs. He gets 1 called strike off of those kind of early in the count. 2 of them were strikes. 2 of them were not. So there you go. If you are a Diamondbacks fan, you probably think, oh man, this start absolutely sucked. There's legitimately things to like about Brandon Pfaadt and what he can do. The control has historically been very good. And when you watch, a lot of these pitches don't miss by much. And the sequencing, the ideas behind this, using the slider, like setting a guy up with a fastball and then dropping a slider back foot or backdooring a slider, like a lot of the sequencing works in the outing, but when he misses, he's missing middle, and it gets crushed. So I think ultimately, I mean, there's some gorgeous pitches in here, right? There's a Sandy Leon takes a backdoor slider that is just absolutely beautiful and then strikes out on 1 down and away. Like that is when that pitch is on, Brandon Pfaadt can be effective. But the issue is he wasn't locating everything else as well as he needed to be, especially the changeup. And then the curveball's not doing enough to be a weapon. And so is he going to be an ace? Is he going to be a number 1 pitcher? He's not. But Brandon Pfaadt showed you enough that when he's on, when everything's working, the fastball has plenty of spin. He averaged 2470 spin rate, would have been top 15 for all 4-seamers last year. When the changeup is being spotted and being landed for a strike, of the 12 he threw, 3 of them were strikes. And so when he can land the changeup for strikes, if he could get a little more velocity on the fastball, that'd be even better. But when he can locate the slider and can use it and sequence it well, and the changeup is working, he absolutely can be an effective middle of the rotation guy. It's just, he's more than the sum of his parts, but because of that, all of the parts have to work. And Brandon Pfaadt just didn't have all of the parts working today. And so he gets shelled. I don't know if they're going to keep him up for another start. I don't know if he's going to go back down or what the plan is. But either way, frustrating outing, especially if you were somebody in fantasy who went up and picked him up. My opponent in my redraft league dropped him about 4 p.m. this afternoon. So absolutely was done with Brandon Pfaadt. But things to like, and it's not the end of the world that he got shelled in the first outing. In just a minute, Gavin Stone of the Dodgers made his first outing, and it wasn't as bad as Pfaadt's, but there's still some things we can learn from this. But first, today's episode is sponsored by our friends at Betterhelp. It's very easy to get caught up in what everybody else needs from you, and you don't take a moment to think about what you need from yourself. What are the things that I need to do or I need to prioritize to be happy and to be healthy? When we spend all of our time giving, we can feel stretched thin, we can feel burned out. I had the situation come up when the MLB season started because obviously I'm doing this show. This is a show as a priority for me. But I was also working on college baseball coverage for Sports Illustrated, and I was asked to help with Major League Baseball coverage. And I had to step back from the college baseball stuff and say, hey, I have too many things on my plate. I need to prioritize my family. I need to prioritize the show, my friends, and a healthy me. And that's the type of thing that you can use, you can take away from therapy. You can learn positive coping skills, how to set boundaries, how to feel empowered to be the best version of yourself. It's not just for somebody who's experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. You fill out a brief questionnaire. They match you with a licensed therapist. If you don't like your therapist, you can switch at any time for no additional charge. So find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnMLB today to get $10 off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn. Okay, Gavin Stone of the Dodgers comes up and makes his first start today, and unlike Brandon Pfaadt, the Dodgers actually do win this. I believe it was a Max Muncy walk-off grand slam, which what a way to end a game. Walk-off grand slams are always tons of fun. Gavin only goes 4 innings, 8 hits, 5 runs, 4 of them are earned, 2 walks, and 1 strikeout on 77 pitches. 47 of those were strikes. So let's back up a little bit. 2025th rounder out of Central Arkansas, and really kind of a scouting victory for the Dodgers. He's a reliever the first 2 years at Central Arkansas, which very much not a baseball powerhouse. He moves to the rotation as a junior. His final start before the pandemic shuts everything down in March is a no-hitter with 13 strikeouts. So going to get a little bit of coverage, obviously, but a lot of stuff going on. They still see it. They take him in the 5th round, sign him below slot. Last year, he goes from high A all the way to triple A and has the lowest ERA of all qualified pitchers in the minors. So he starts 25 games, 9-6 record, 1.48 ERA, and 121 2/3 innings. 168 strikeouts, so 12.4 per 9, 244 walks, 3.3 per 9, with only 3 home runs allowed. And I think that's the biggest thing that stood out to me when I was watching Gavin Stone and what he does is, holy cow, he threw 121 innings last year and gave up 3 home runs. That's it. It was something where he gave up 1 in high A Great Lakes, he gave up 1 in double A Tulsa, and he gave up 1 in triple A Oklahoma City. Now, this year on the season, he made 6 starts in the minors, 2-2, 4.74 ERA, and 24 2/3 innings. Did give up 3 home runs, so he has more home runs, or as many this year as he had all of last year. But when you look at the stuff, everything's kind of based around the changeup. So he opens guys up with a fastball. It sits 94 to 96. He can touch 98 with it. Very good up in the zone. The shape of the fastball, kind of like Brandon Pfaadt, the shape of the fastball isn't anything special, but he's very good at locating it and spotting it wherever it needs to be. He won't always stick with, I'm going to throw it up in the zone or I'm going to keep it down and away. He moves it around the zone, but he always hits his spots with it, so very useful there. And all of this is to set up the changeup. It sits mid-80s, 85, 86 or so, has a lot of like late drop to it, and then has some run to it as well, kind of late in the flight to the plate. And so because of the control and the movement profile of it, it moves very well. He's comfortable to throw it in just about any single count to any batter of either handedness. He can get a strike with it if he wants. He can make you chase it if he wants. And he very rarely allows anybody to square it up. Now, he does have a slider, sits in the mid-80s. Kind of it's like a vertical breaking slider. It's probably above average. Kind of like Brandon Pfaadt has a curveball that's a 4th pitch. He didn't throw it at all today. So in this outing, again, 4 innings pitched, 8 hits, 5 runs, 4 of those are earned, 2 walks, 1 strikeouts. He throws 35 four-seam fastballs, so 45% of his pitches are fastballs, averages about 93 with those. Throws 33 changeups, so 43% changeups. So 88% of his pitches are either the fastball or the changeup. Throws 9 sliders, about 12% of the time right there, just doing your math. And the changeup and the slider, I don't love when your secondaries all are in the same velocity band, right? They both sit around 85. Now, there was more more movement in the changeup. Some of the changeups were as slow as 81, as fast as 87, where the sliders kind of all hung around that 84, 85, 86, but the average comes out to 85 for both of them. Now, the reason that Gavin Stone got in trouble today is he didn't really throw a lot of sliders until that fourth inning. He was sticking fastball changeup, and guys were getting the ball or the bat on the changeup. They weren't crushing the changeup. He had 7 hard hit balls in the outing, but they weren't getting exceptionally amazing contact. I don't think a single changeup actually was a hard hit ball, which is defined as 95 miles an hour or harder. It's just like the fastballs were the ones that got hit, but they were able to make contact. So we got 1 swing and miss on the fastball. The CSW rate came out to 23% when you count the called strikes, 7 called strikes. The changeup, 2 swings and misses, 3 called strikes, so a 15% CSW, and I think that's really what hurt him. And the slider, 3 swings and misses, no called strikes, so a 33% CSW rate. Averages out to 21% for the outing. And I mentioned the slider usage being a little weird. He threw 9 in the outing. He threw 4 in the 4th inning. He opened up, I believe he opened up Trey Turner with 2 straight sliders in the 4th inning. Both of them were taken for balls. He then turned around, fastball changeup, got him to, I think it was fly out. And then after Bryce Harper gets on, he goes to Nick Castellanos. 3 of the 6 sliders that he threw in this game were to Nick Castellanos, but he throws him 2, including the one that he strikes out on in the 4th. But he was almost exclusively fastball changeup until that 4th inning. Again, he threw something like 4 or 5 in the entire outing until he got to that 4th inning. Half the ones he threw were in that 4th inning. And again, the issue here was just guys making contact with the changeup. He didn't get enough swings and misses off of it. It's something where, I mean, the spin looked good. The velocity, again, right around 85 miles an hour. The movement profile looked good. He wasn't leaving it over the middle of the plate. But when you face a good team like the Phillies with good bats, they were able to put it into play. And so he wasn't able to get guys put away. And when you put a ball in play, especially against a team that doesn't traditionally have a fantastic defense in Philadelphia, things can happen. You saw an unearned run in there. And so that was the issue. And whenever you have a guy that relies on a less effective pitch, like the changeup's one of the least effective pitches in a vacuum, you're going to have situations like this. So I feel better about Gavin Stone's future than about Brandon Pfaadt's future. And I don't feel bad about Brandon Pfaadt's future. It's just Gavin Stone has a better pitch in the changeup, albeit a pitch that's traditionally not incredibly effective. But it feels like his issues are more manageable than Brandon Pfaadt's are, where you have to have all 4 pitches working to have an effective outing. In just a second, let's check in on Zach Neto of the Angels now that he's had about 2.5 or so weeks to see how he's doing in the bigs. But first, this episode is brought to you by our friends with Rocket Money. If you've seen the try it free for 30 days thing, you are a person that probably needs Rocket Money. The idea behind that is they get you to try it and then they hope you forget about it. Over 80% of people have subscriptions that they have forgotten about. And when you ask the average American how much they spend a month on subscriptions, they assume it's around $80, and in reality, it's closer to $200. If you don't know exactly how much money you're spending every month, you need Rocket Money. It will quickly and easily find the subscriptions for you. If you don't want to pay for it anymore, you just hit cancel and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. It is that easy. It can also manage all your finances in one place and automatically categorize your expenses so that you can easily track your budget in real time and get alerted if any spending patterns look off. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money, and the average person saves up to $720 a year. So stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. Again, rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. Okay, so we talked with our friends from Locked On Angels when Zach Neto got called up about what to expect from Zach Neto, and then we took the victory lap on Logan O'Hoppe, and then he had a shoulder injury and was out for the year. We'll get to that in a later show. But I wanted to check back in with Zach Neto. He's had 18 games going through, I believe that's going through Wednesday's game. The Angels played a little bit earlier. I believe my stats are up to date on this. So 259, 348, 328 is the slash line. So in essence, 260, 350, 330. Slugging below on base. Yeah. No home runs, but 4 doubles for Zach Neto and 1 walk to 10 strikeouts, 1 for 1 on stolen bases. So there's good, there's bad for Zach Neto so far. And I think a lot of this stuff, maybe not everything, but I think a lot of this stuff will normalize as he gets more time. So the things that I've been impressed with and I'm happy about with Zach Neto, the first one is his plate discipline, right? Something that we talked about, my everydayers have heard this all the time. Hitters are born, not made. And when Zach Neto was drafted in the first round in 2022, part of the conversation was, yeah, his setup, he looks a little bit funky at the plate, but he's a very good hitter. Like he has a very good batter's eye. He won't draw a bunch of walks because he's aggressive, but he's not going to strike out a ton. He's going to do a good job at recognizing what he can and can't hit. So, swing and miss, 93rd percentile in MLB through 18 games at swing and miss. So, very good. He's also good at the plate discipline. Again, not chasing. 97th percentile in chase rate. So, the plate discipline that we knew like from the plus hitter that Zach Neto was, has absolutely showed up in his 18-game sample in the major leagues. His defense has also showed up. Again, it's 18 games, so smaller sample size, and nobody really knows how defensive statistics work, so this may not be accurate, but 89th percentile in outs above average for the sample. So for the amount of time that he's been up, compared to everybody else when you scale it properly, he's in the 89th percentile. So he is playing above average defense. And kind of going through StatCast, looking at some of the fielding stats, they give him extra credit for ball coming in towards balls and ranging to his left for balls. The estimated success rate, all of the balls hit to him that he had an opportunity to field, the estimated success rate based on the direction of the ball, the speed, his positioning, all of that is 75%. So he should have made 3 out of every 4 plays. His actual success rate on 55 attempts is 78%. So he has added 3% in success rate, and that contributes to a +2 outs above average. His arm, we talked about his arm was a plus arm, but he had to work on some of the timing of it. If my everydayers will remember the conversation where it was trying to get the clock down, right? You had the clock at Campbell, and then you had the clock in Double-A. Now can you sync up with the major league clock? So arm is right at the 50th percentile. He's made 91 attempts. The average arm speed is 84.2 miles an hour. And reminder on the StatCast arm strength, that's a whole thing they do where they only use like the top 10% of throws or something like that to eliminate the non-competitive throws. It's a whole thing. But point is, he comes out right on 50th percentile on arm strength. I think he has more in there. I think a lot of that is deliberately trying to not rush plays. Now, the things that aren't great. There are things that aren't great in this profile. One, you heard me say he's got 1 walk on the year. 1 walk on the year. His walk rate, 1st percentile. So a little bit, he's not chasing a lot of stuff. Remember, 97th percentile on chase rate. He's not chasing, but he's also not drawing the walks at some of that aggressive profile. He is limiting the strikeouts, 85th percentile on strikeouts. But the other issue that he has, and it's kind of, if you think about it, it's a little weird to have these two issues together. He's very good at spotting what is and is not a ball. Yet, the pitches in the zone that are strikes, he's not hitting them very well. So the batted ball quality is lacking. His hard hit rate, and remember that's defined as 95 miles an hour or better, is 13th percentile. So he has a hard hit ball on 29.8% of his at-bats. The MLB average, is 35.9%. So he's essentially at 30. He's 6% below the average. His barrel rate, which is not just the velocity, but the velocity and the angle, 22nd percentile in barrel. He's a 4.3% barrel rate, where the MLB average is 6.8%. So Zach Neto the defense has traveled. The pitch recognition and plate discipline has traveled, but he's not walking, and the batted ball quality isn't necessarily great. Now, again, at shortstop, you're willing to sacrifice some of that impact power for good defense. I think he's doing well enough there, but obviously you'd like to see him hit a little more effectively when he's getting a chance to hit. So we're going to keep watching Zach Neto. We'll come back to this a couple times for him and a lot of other players. I'm excited to do this about an Anthony Volpe and a Gunnar Henderson and kind of dive into some of these young hitters who were on the Rookie of the Year leaderboard. Spoiler alert for a future show. In the meantime, if you have questions for the show, I'm on Twitter at Crosby Baseball. Show's on Twitter at Locked On Farm. You can email us, lockedonmlbprospects@gmail.com, or drop your questions into Locked On MLB Prospects Discord. Links in the episode description, links in the show notes. Until tomorrow's show, remember, it's always a great time to pay a minor leaguer.